All right, this episode is with Redwan from Saucebros in Dallas, Texas. He's doing sourdough pizza out of a conveyor oven. I'm fascinated by this sourdough pizza out of a conveyor oven because we all know conveyor ovens generally have a feeling that it makes a lesser quality pizza. But I've been to a few pizzerias now that are using conveyor ovens with a high quality dough and making amazing pizza. And I love to see that because I think conveyor ovens, for operations wise, make it so easy to work in the pizzeria. But then there's people who are like, oh, if I see a conveyor oven, I don't think it's artisan enough. I don't think it's putting the love into the pizza of watching it and putting it in and out of the oven and watching the temperature and spinning it and all of that nonsense to me. But great episode of where he learned how to make pizza, got into the pizza business without any experience. A couple years, the first 2 years didn't really go great. Then he started working with some influencers, and he's very technical and numbers-wise when it comes to working with influencers, and it's fascinating to see how he grew his business the third year. This episode is going to be a good one for you. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hit like, hit subscribe, and let's get into the episode now. All right, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So my name is Redwan Huda. I'm the co-founder of Saucebros Pizza here in Plano, Texas. So the concept behind Saucebros is we're a fusion pizza spot. Primarily, we're trying to promote flavors from Bangladesh. That's where I was born and raised.
Okay.
Trying to promote flavors from Bangladesh through pizza. So we're using pizza as a vessel to promote Bangladesh.
I love that because pizza is like the best vessel for that.
It is. It's very versatile, for sure.
How long have you been open for?
We've been open. We're going to hit our 3 years this summer.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
How's it going for you so far?
The first year I was pretty rough, for sure. Then you start slowly, first of all, we didn't come from me and my business partner, we didn't come from any restaurant background. We weren't sure what we were doing. We're just passionate guys who like to make good food, I guess.
Right.
There was a steep learning curve running a restaurant. I mean, even though we're very small, it's a takeout spot. So, but still, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, right? So, yeah, the first few years was pretty rough, like for sure. But then slowly we tried to get the hang of things. We were becoming more consistent with our product and stuff. Then recently, a couple of months back, we were, Bon Appetit did a feature on us. They picked like 8 pizza restaurants across the country that were doing fusion pizzas. And we were the only one from Texas. So that, gave us a massive push in getting a lot of new foot traffic, for sure.
That's great. So the first year was rough. Was it just sales-wise was rough?
Sales was rough. I mean, everything, I think. I mean, operationally, we didn't know, things like when we got our restaurant space, there was a lot of issues with the space, which we weren't aware of, obviously, going in. It used to be an existing pizza spot, the one we took over. Then we checked the health records before we took over, but when we got our inspection, we got a whole laundry list of violations the city just gave us, which was perfectly fine with the previous owner. So, then we had to go through those, navigate those issues, finding people to fix those issues and all that stuff. Then, obviously, we launched. When we launched, how do we get the people to know us?
Right.
Getting the word out was pretty difficult in the beginning. Then, getting the supplies. Obviously, there's Restaurant Depot that everyone knows about, but there's more than Restaurant Depot, right? So those kind of, those operational challenges were, I think, more than the most hardest part.
Did you buy an existing pizza shop?
Yeah.
Like, did you buy it or just take it over because it was there?
We bought it. We bought it out.
And changed the name and everything? Or was
Changed
it
the name,
Saucebros?
everything.
Yeah.
No. It was Alfredo's Pizza.
Okay.
And we
And you had no experience in the pizza industry? Like none?
Nothing. We learned how to make pizza during COVID at home.
Okay.
So I was in New York during COVID. Obviously, we were stuck in New York, right? We couldn't do anything. So I had a lot of time now that I'm staying home for a long period of times. So I just started watching Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews, right?
Okay, yeah.
Then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Then I was on YouTube and Oh, there was a pop-up, sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I was watching Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews on YouTube, right? And then what happened was I was on YouTube and then I came across are you familiar with Scott's Pizza Tour, right? Scott.
Yeah, I know Scott.
Yeah, so I came across his video on YouTube and he's a very hands-on guy and very what he explains things is very interesting, right? And he breaks down the science behind like the fermentation, all of that stuff. So I just got hooked into it. And then he was doing these online Zoom classes, how to make pizza doughs. So I signed up for one
Okay,
of
yeah, yeah.
those. I did that and and it's just one thing to the other. And then, yeah, it's now I guess I have a pizza restaurant.
So how did you get from how did you get from New York to Texas?
So I moved to Texas in 2020, 2020, end of 2021.
So as soon as you moved to Texas, you bought a pizza shop.
Pretty much, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like something just showed up on the Facebook Marketplace where like I told my business partner like, yeah, let's just do it. Like, what's gonna happen? I mean,
Was it how much did you guys like? What was it? Was it an existing business that was
it
open
was
for
yeah.
sale?
So it was an existing business that opened for sale. We bought it out. It wasn't too expensive, but
You're basically just buying the equipment in the space, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened was after the fact with the just like I said with all the violations and everything that happened, that cost us more money, almost as much as money at what we paid for the space.
Wow.
So that was very rough for us, for sure.
That's crazy. And what? So you've never lived in Texas before? This was your first time?
No, first time, yeah.
What's
I
it
was
like?
in New York. I was in New York the whole time. Like I was in Queens, New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
your
dude,
experience
Texas,
been like in
Texas,
Texas? Good?
it's awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's growing super fast, right? And there's a lot of people like me moving in from different places. So it's very diverse. The community's massive out here. Things are changing very rapidly, and I think it's more of a very, I would say business-wise, it's a very business-friendly state compared to
Yeah.
a place
I've
like
heard
New
good things
York.
about that. I've heard people say
Yeah.
like and the pizza scene's not huge yet. I think Austin has a good pizza scene,
Austin has a better pizza scene for sure, but I
but
think it's
Dallas is up and
changing.
coming. Yeah.
It's up and coming. There's a lot of like we just had a pizza fest in Italy this past weekend. There was like 30 something pizzerias came through. Chef Chris Bianco was there as one of the judges.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I mean we had some pretty nice pizzerias out there.
That's great. So I'm excited. I'm actually heading to Dallas next week, so maybe I'll stop in and say hello to
Yeah,
you.
please. Yeah, we definitely got to hang out.
And I'm looking at because I was looking at your Instagram and I'm like, wow, your pizzas look great. Now, so you learned how to make pizza on like with the Zoom videos with Scott, and then you went to your pizzeria, and then you've obviously been testing it out because your pizza. If you go to your Instagram, and your Instagram is Saucebros, so Saucebros BROS USA is the
USA.
handle. But if you just type in Saucebros, you guys pop up. Your pizza doesn't look like it comes from somebody who just learned how to make pizza 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, so the thing is, I'm somewhat a very obsessive person. Like, so when I get into something, I'm like super into it. And
Yeah.
so during the period when I was making pizzas at home at COVID, I started with the pizza stone, right? I started dabbling with it, and then I figured out there's this better thing called pizza steel. Then I found this company. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about a baking steel, right? I think that's like the
I
best
talk
one.
about that all the time. People are gonna
Right,
be like sick
so
of me talking about it.
so I
I
got
love it.
baking
I love
steel.
it though myself. I think it's the best product for home
It's
pizza
the
making.
best one, 100%.
Yeah.
So I got baking steel. Then I started, playing around with the oven, how to get the, preheat the oven for two hours. Then you put the thing, then turn on the what do you call that thing that heats on the top?
broiler?
Broiler, yeah. So turn on the broiler, all of that stuff, right? But one of the things that I was having issues with the beginning was obviously I didn't know that once you make the dough and you ferment it, right? I didn't know that at the beginning you gotta let it out, sit for in the room temperature once you take it out of the fridge for like a couple of hours, so it gets easier to stretch. So that's one thing I wasn't getting. I didn't understand how to do it, but then I guess with I also make pizza almost like every other day. So the more I did it, I understood like what was happening. Then you know how they say New York water, right, makes pizzas better, right? So then I moved to Florida for a couple of months during COVID because my parents were there and it was cold and crazy in New York. So I took New York water with me on the plane and I went to Florida. So I did the whole test. I did like the Florida tap water, the New York tap water, and I did bottled water. to see what the difference is. It's not really anything. If you ferment it for long enough, it doesn't really matter. But I think if you do a same day dough, it does make a little different because the chlorine content in places like Florida or even Texas is so high that it
Right.
messes with the yeast, right? Or the gluten formation. So yeah, so I figured out, okay, the water is, there's some truth to it, but if you ferment it, it doesn't really matter what
So that's what you
what
do
the
now?
water is. Yeah, that's what I do a 3-day fermentation. So I do a poolish first,
Yep.
ferment that for 24 hours, then I do a bulk ferment for 24, and then another, when I make the dough balls, make another fermentation.
Wow. What oven do you
Yeah.
use for the pizza?
Crazily enough, I have a belt oven, conveyor belt oven.
I no, I was just because I was like looking at your Instagram. I'm like,
Yeah.
at first I saw the belt oven, then I'm looking at your pizza. I'm like, there's no way that this
Like
pizza's come out of a belt oven.
the oven, for the pizza that I'm getting out of that oven, it's pretty crazy because when, just like I said, it was an existing pizza spot. I was gonna get a deck oven, but with all the violations and that everything that came out, we didn't have enough money to go buy ourselves a new oven. So I was like, all right, let's just work with whatever we have. So I treated it like a home oven, the recipe.
Yeah.
So I tweaked around a little bit and played around with it, and then I figured out how to get the best crust out of it, and I think I get a pretty solid crust for a belt
That's
oven.
great.
Yeah.
I usually look at, and people are gonna hate me, but I usually look at like if I see a conveyor oven, I know how those work, and it's like it's hard to get a great pizza out of a conveyor
Mm-hmm.
oven until
100%.
like I've never eaten your pizza. Hopefully next week I will. But I've been to Sicily's Pizza in Detroit. Ali
Mm-hmm.
from Sicily's Pizza in Detroit
Okay.
makes a similar pizza to you, sourdough, out
Uh-huh.
of a conveyor oven. And I was like, the
Yeah, I saw
first
your
time,
video. I saw that clip on
yeah,
Instagram.
first time I've ever
Looks
eaten a
insane.
pizza out of a conveyor oven. That was like, I would have guessed that came out of a conveyor oven. The crispy
Right.
gets, like the coloring, the crunchiness of the crust. I'm like, I've never really see that out of a conveyor oven, but he did it.
Yep.
It was great.
Yeah, for me, so I had to adjust with the hydration a little bit because and then so what I do is I do add dissected malt powder to the my flour, so it gets the brownness. I get the char, and then before I put it in the oven, I brush olive oil on the crust, so I get that extra crispiness.
Got it. Yeah, it looks great. Like your pizzas out here,
Thank you.
especially if you go to your Instagram, your pizza looks great. And you're doing some different. Do you do the traditional like cheese pepperoni? But you're also doing
We have all of that. Like even so one thing we focus on that we're big on is like whatever flavor we add, we stay very authentic to that flavor. Like for tomato sauce, we use like Sun Marzano tomato. You know, we do things the right way. We're not just like skipping on anything. Like then we added a taco pizza. Again, like it's literally, if you think of a taco that you would eat out of a taqueria, and that's on a pizza, and we stayed authentic to that taste. Like anyone that knows a real taco, and I've had many people, they're like, dude, this tastes just like a taco. So we're very hyper focused on that aspect. That whatever we're adding to the menu has to be true to that taste.
I love it. I like that you're very. I can tell that you're like you dive into things fully and like want to like really understand how it works,
Right.
and it can show because I think people get like me see like a conveyor oven and be like, oh, I'm only able to do certain things because
Dude,
I have a conveyor oven.
I was the same way, right? But I had to make with whatever I had.
Right.
So
I like that.
like
And
I was
I like
like,
that you have proof that you did it. So it's like it's
exactly.
possible.
Yes, for sure. Like my dream, like, I was thinking like, I'm gonna get the Pizza Master, right? That's like the best oven out there. Then I saw the price is like $50 something thousand dollars. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I can't afford that.
Right.
Then I looked into Baker's Pride, right? Or like the Marshall ovens. Those are still like 15,000, like a used one, a decent
Right.
like double deck or triple deck ones. I was like, I don't have the money right now. So I was like, all right, let's just do whatever we have. We'll figure it out down the line.
What oven what's the name of the oven you have?
It's a Middleby Marshall. It's like a
Yeah.
very basic
Yeah.
conveyor belt
I've used
oven.
those before.
Yeah. Like I think any chain pizza restaurants, they use those. So, and I have a very old one too. It's not like I have the greatest and the latest ones. It's very
So let
like
me ask you
almost
this. Now that you've done it and you have that oven, like do you feel like you need to upgrade it or are you just gonna continue to use that one? Like if you maybe you
I
open another shop, what are you gonna do?
so that's one thing I'm debating on right now. So the advantage of having these belt ovens is it's almost stupid proof, right?
Right.
So that's and especially in a market like Texas or Dallas, where you don't have really a lot of people who are skilled in make pizzas and understanding temperature and all that stuff. So operation that makes it's a very convenient for sure. But I'm still debating on that. Like I don't know what I want to do in the next one. But I was looking into this oven. It's like it's a conveyor belt oven, but it has the stones on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. So I
I
was
did a
looking to
video on
that.
it. It did the Fiero company, who's the Fiero's a
Yes.
sponsor of the podcast, has
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
They were at Pizza Expo. I saw it.
Yeah, so I was like, that's pretty interesting. Maybe I'll look into that, but I'm still not sure. Like I'm still leaning towards a deck oven for sure. Like I would really want to have that. Like the 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 pizza fest we just had at Italy here in Dallas. We had they so one of the sponsors, I forgot that company's name. It's like something with an M, Fierno, something Morno Fierno, something like that.
Maraforni?
Maraforni, yes, Maraforni, yeah. So we had their ovens. Those are nice ovens, like super nice ovens. So I was using those and it was pretty awesome. But one thing I maybe because of the weather we had, it was very cold and windy and it was an outside thing. My understanding was that deck oven would cook faster with pizzas. Like I was expecting like a pizza in like 4 or 5 minutes, but it almost took us like 8 9 minutes to make one pie.
Wow.
So,
Was it a
but
gas
again,
oven?
it was the electric one.
Okay.
So, but my probably because we're outdoors and the wind, like every time we opened the door, like probably the wind was messing up with the temperature inside the oven.
Right.
I wasn't sure, but I gotta test that out again, like when I get a chance.
I like the I like the brick slat conveyor
Yep.
oven. I think that if I was to open a pizza shop, which I've been tinkering around with in my brain,
Hmm.
open another shop, I probably would try to do that. I think it's early. The technology for that has been around for a little bit. Andy from Andy's Pizza in Washington D.C.,
Okay.
who's won best pizza at Pizza Expo a couple times, uses those brick slat conveyor ovens in his pizza.
Yeah, those I think has the perfect balance, right, between the convenience and the crust that everyone wants to get. So,
Yeah, because
but
it's
with my
hard, right? Like the
recipe,
hardest part about is the skill, like you said, training somebody to. There's two camps. You either have to train somebody from the ground up to make your style of pizza, which is like the longest timeline, but the best thing to do, or you hire somebody that has skill and brings all of their bad habits into your pizza shop and you have to retrain
exactly.
them, which is the hardest thing to do.
Exactly, yeah. So that's like one thing. Like I don't hire people that work at like Papa John's and Domino's. Like it's like I had one guy, and you know how they make the stretch the dough, right? It just annoys me, like how they have their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
I hated that. I was like, I can't do this right now.
How do you do it?
So I just so I do the crust at the very end. So I try to like stretch out because with the fermentation and everything, the doughs are pretty easy to stretch.
Yeah.
So basically, I'll try to not touch the crust as much as possible because I like to have that little puffy crust. So I try to thin out the middle and then slowly stretch it out, keep doing it, and then use my knuckle to stretch out as much as possible. And yeah,
That's interesting. I like one of the things that's been the most interesting to me going around into the pizza shops and recording videos. Like these podcasts are great for information, but for
right,
to go into the shop and see how people are set up and how they make their pizza and their dough is very interesting. And one of the most interesting things that I found is how people stretch out their pizzas so differently across the
yep,
board. It's like so
100%.
different.
Like I think my way of doing it is not like it's very different than most people because I've seen videos and people they do them very way they do it so much better than what I do. But mine it works, so I'm not trying to like
You just yeah,
change
but you
my
don't have
process yet.
you taught yourself, right? Like I think
Exactly, yeah.
you've learned how to make dough, but like stretching out the dough, you got to just do by doing it.
Exactly. So I figured my way it works, so I'm happy with it.
That's great. And now you train everybody in your shop to do it your way.
Yes, I train in my own, yeah.
Good.
So I prefer people with no experience coming in because that's easier than just like you said, people with bad habits coming in.
Yeah, because then they got to make your pizza totally different than you need to make it. And
Exactly,
yours
yeah.
is very specific because of the oven you're using.
100%.
That's great. So are you happy with the business you're at now? Like, are you happy in the business?
Yeah, for sure. I would say yeah, mentally 100%. Financially could be better.
Busier, you
Obviously,
mean?
with yeah,
Yeah.
but well, last year was pretty tough with everything that's going on and the economy and everything. And I know I have friends in within Dallas, like everyone's like been struggling a lot with the whole economy and everything. That's everything's so expensive these days. Like you go out to eat for two people, it's like $100. Like that's the truth, right? So that's been a little tough to navigate. But this year, after we started off pretty better, I would say significantly better than last year. So hopefully we keep that momentum going in.
That's great.
And
What do you
and,
think?
and
Where do you think you're at percentage wise with like where you think the business should be and where you're at now? So like 100% is like
so I think
business is where
at
I want it
this
to be.
point we're almost like 90%, 90 to 95% where I want to be.
That's good.
But like last year we were like off by like 30, 35%.
Okay, so
That's
you're in
how bad
catch up
it
mode a
was.
little bit.
Yeah, I'm in a catch up mode a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And
I,
then what?
I I think most of my friends that I know, and even like my suppliers that I talk with, like I use Ben and Keith, and I used to have PFC and stuff, and so everyone was down like 25 to 30% across the board, which was a pretty concerning number, right? It's a pretty big number, especially in our industry where the margins are like almost nothing.
Right.
But one thing was that this year. So one thing. So sorry. So I have a friend, he's been in the restaurant space for almost like 25 years. He said that election year is always bad for business. I don't know what the logic is, but I took his word because he's been doing this for like 25 years. He saw like 5 or 6 elections by this time. So based on what he said, it makes sense how we started the year and how we're doing so far. But of course, we had the media exposure and all that. That definitely gave us a massive push. But I want to see the next couple of months how it goes and see where we are at the end of the year.
Yeah, election years are always tough because nobody knows what's going to happen.
Right.
So they're kind of just holding on to see what happens,
100%.
and they like a wait and see mode.
Mm-hmm.
Do you run your Instagram?
I do have some people. I don't do it. I'm not the most creative person. So I have people that I have like some social media people that run it. But I'm
That's
always
good.
on it. Like I respond to messages and stuff. I try to be as much active as possible. But still, like with everything that's going on, I can't be on it all the time.
Right.
But I have a social media manager that runs it for me.
And do they work in the business or just an outsourced thing?
That's outsourced. They're completely outsourced.
And they come into the shop and kind of take videos
Yeah,
with you,
they
but they're
do the
local.
content. They're local. Yeah, they're
Yeah, I
local.
think it's hard.
Well, I have both actually. I have editors local and abroad. So I have some people offshore.
Oh, nice.
So what I do is, because I do work with a lot of influencers, I try to, so whenever they come in, one things I do is I try to get the raw footage from them as much as possible. So I have a pretty extensive archive of video footages so that I can just reuse and like keep pushing out content as much as possible.
How do you reach out to those people who want to do?
So mostly I'll just on my social media managers, they'll reach out to them and they'll be, hey, we have this uh restaurant. This is, we uh obviously there's a lot of paid ones in the mix for sure, right? But one thing I noticed is that the sweet spot for me has been like people with pages with like 10 to 20,000 followers. Those get more traction than like a page like with like 100, 150,000, 200,000 followers because the audiences that they have on those big pages, it's not that they don't work, obviously they work, but I feel like their audience reaches beyond like the local market that I'm in. Versus like someone with a 5 or 10,000 followers, they're very hyper local, and that generates me more business than someone with a mass bigger audience.
That's interesting, but I can understand how that works.
Right.
You have a million
So
followers, but those people are all over the world.
exactly, that's like you could be in like New York, Texas, LA, California, whatever, Miami, but I need people in Texas or
Right.
more
And
precise in Dallas.
and they're probably way more expensive too. Like if someone with
Oh
five or
yeah,
ten
it's
thousand
insane.
dollars could not cheap, but inexpensive
Exactly.
compared to.
Yep. Yeah, like there's some that they want to like. So another thing, like before I did pizza, I was in the marketing space. I was in corporate America. I used to do marketing analytics. So I have very good understanding of these numbers and how these social media stuff work, right? So I can tell you by the views these people get on these pages how much business they'll bring me.
Really?
Okay, I'm very accurate. Like I'll like for example, let's just say uh, a a video that had let's say 100,000 views, right? And so the most important number to look at is the shares and the saves. But you don't really get to see the saves unless you're on your page. Let's just say let's say I see a video on your page, right?
Yeah.
So let's say something had like 300 shares. So usually saves would be almost half of those shares. So let's just say out of 300 you get 150 shares, right? 150 saves out of the 300. So usually the conversion of that 150 would be about something like a good industry standard would be about like 2%.
Okay.
That would be the very standard conversion rate. So you can base off those numbers and see how it works. And I've been very consistent. So now that whenever we reach out to an influencer, my social media guy will be, hey, I have this guy. So I'll check them out and see, okay, this is they're getting about, let's say 4,000 views, they're getting about this many shares, whatever the number is. I'm like, okay, so we can have this person come on board and try our food and shoot some content.
The thought being
But
that if you're sharing it and saving it, you're doing it for a purpose to go there later.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Views doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of social media influencers like, hey, I have 100,000 followers and like I get 1 million views. That doesn't really mean anything, right? It doesn't really show how much it's actually going to convert. Conversion numbers are very low, like it's like 1 to 2%.
Yeah.
So you can really base off what the saves and the shares are. That's like the best way to actually evaluate what a potential influencer can bring to your table. But also, obviously, there are times where, like a small page, a social media page with like 2,000 followers, their video can potentially go viral, right?
Wow.
So you always have that aspect of it too.
What do you pay people?
It really depends. The highest I think I've paid is I think the highest I paid is 500. That's the max I paid.
That doesn't sound like a ton. Did it work?
It worked, yes. It definitely worked. But that's the thing, like I figured out the balance, right? I had people that reached out to me and they were like, oh, we're gonna charge you $1,500. I was like, sorry, you're not gonna generate me that much business.
Right.
The maximum you're gonna get me is probably like $200. Now I gave them the whole breakdown of, because again, like most of these social media people, right? For them, it's views and followers, right? They don't really care what's gonna bring how much business is gonna bring to your table, right? So for me,
they just look at the exposure. Like they just say, "Oh, you're gonna get seen by 1 million people. Great. How many people are gonna come to my business?"
Right. That's the piece. Majority of the restaurant, because again, not everyone has the background that I have, right? The understanding I have, right? So people don't understand that aspect of it. Like, how do you get the best out of whatever influencer you're bringing in? So I had people like reach out to me. One influencer, she's local in Dallas. And she works with big brands like, the McDonald's and Ubers and whatever of the world. And I don't think she has a lot of followers, not even that thing. I don't think she has 100,000 followers or something like not in the 100,000 for sure. And she reached out to me and she's like, hey, I want to work with you. And I knew right off the bat that her fees will be something insane. And I told her, like, hey, listen, I know you have a great following and you have a great page, but I can't afford you. It's not going to happen. She's like, oh, no, I work with small business. I was like, all right, how much are you going to charge? And she was like, $4,500. I'm like, I was like, that's almost like at that time when she reached out, that's when I was just starting off. I was like, that's almost like half of my month's sale at the very beginning. I was like, I can't afford that. And you're not, and that more importantly, you're not going to give me that business back, like that money back. Like, I'd rather go out and just give out $4,500 worth of free food. And I can guarantee you that would get me more business than just paying $4,500 to you and getting no business.
It's amazing to me, like how somebody like that could think that's a good price to give to a small pizzeria.
I was like, you guys are so out of out of touch with reality. Like $4,500 for a real, like, just.
I come into people's pizza shops and I do videos, and I'm like, don't charge any money at all. And I'm like, I'm going to give you free exposure on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And I still feel bad. Like I'm in the way. Exactly.
Like it's because this, you've been in the space, right? How tough it is. But they just, one day started making these videos and then, I'm not saying they're all like that. Obviously there are some that they're very good and they've given me a lot of business. And I still work with them and then there's some, that just comes in and asks for like $4,500.
There has to be a return on any investment, right? Like if an influencer comes to you or anybody and is like, hey, listen, I charge $500, but let's do it where like if I bring in more than $500, that's great. Like that's the point. And then like
Right.
you'll continue to work with that person.
Exactly.
Because if you're every dollar you spend, they bring a dollar to your business. Like
Exactly.
that's what marketing
That's
is.
that's the thing, right? So every time I can, I have something new to the menu. Hey, come try this.
Right.
Let's work something out. And it's a two-way traffic, right? Like these influencers, they need us and we need them. Let's be honest. It's not like um they're all bad people in that aspect, but again, that one interaction is something I'll never forget. I was like, I told you up front. I was very honest about it. I was like, hey, I know I can almost guess how much you're going to charge me, right?
Was it you?
But
You said I can't afford you, and they said
right,
I'm only charging $4,500.
exactly. I was like, what is that like?
Oh my
So
god,
yeah,
that's like the McDonald's. Obviously, you could pay 10 grand or
yeah.
15 grand, but
McDonald's
you're
is like
McDonald's,
that's nothing. Yeah, I'm not McDonald's. Exactly.
right?
Like,
I mean,
what are you talking about?
McDonald's spends more in a day marketing wise than an average pizza shop spends their whole year.
Exactly. Probably more. I think not even that. I think probably like 2 3 years.
Probably, you're right.
Like,
You're probably right
yeah,
because they probably spend $1 million. I don't even know what their marketing budget is, but it's
their
got to be way
marketing
more than we
budget is
have.
close to $1 billion.
Oh, then yeah, then that's like
Yeah,
what a lifetime of a pizza shop marketing
exactly.
budget is. Then in a day.
Like the whole pizza industry, but like the small business industry doesn't spend that much.
It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
influencers are just like there is a balance though, and I can see it from the influencer's perspective a little bit too, because a lot of times like when you do get influence, people will reach out to you and be like, "Hey, come into my pizza shop for free." And as somebody
Mhm.
who does that, I'm like, I don't charge pizza shops, but I can see like it's not like I'm doing that and like my time isn't involved in editing and posting. So like there is something to that
100%.
that
Exactly.
needs to be uh
There needs
reimbursed.
to be a
But
balance, right?
yeah, exactly.
Like one thing I tried and I did approach some people and didn't like it was I was like, hey, so how about this? Let's just say you said you want to charge me $500, right? I'll give you 250 upfront. I'm going to give you a coupon code, and my website I can track how much of those coupons are being used. I'll share the report with you, and if you can generate me X amount of sales, I'll give you more than what you asked for, because
Right.
again, you're bringing me the business. But they, of course, then none of them agrees to it. Some of them,
Oh,
like
none of them
whatever,
like that?
they didn't like that idea because they're like, oh no, what if you don't pay us? I was like, we can have a contract, whatever you want, I'll write it
Yeah.
down. I have no problem, right? We can
I
have
would do
this.
that.
I was like, that's a fair deal.
It's a
But
win-win.
this exactly, everyone wins, right? I get the business I want, you get the money you want. We're all happy about it. But they didn't
Because if you're
agree.
charging $500 to a business, 250 is like your costs, right? Travel
Exactly.
time,
Right.
editing, expenses, whatever it is. Like the other, like, and then if you make what you say you can do, like you should be able to make profit on top of that.
Exactly. I was like, I'll double what you asked for. Like you asked for 250, I'll give you $1,000. No problem. If you can give me the business you're promising, right?
Yeah,
Like if I can make the money back, the exposure, why not? Like no one, I have nothing to lose. I'm making that money.
that's great. What do you, so do, are you looking to expand your business? Do you think you're going to open a second location?
I am looking for a second space, but the rents in Dallas right now is just out of control right now. It's insane what they are asking. Like there's the fact that the city's growing so fast and there's a lot of new construction, and whenever you go to a new space, the rent is like $10,000 like for a small space,
Wow. For how many square
uh,
feet?
like 1,500.
Wow.
I'm like for a Dallas market, that's a lot. I mean, given that it's a new neighborhood and you whatnot, but it takes time for like, and that's why there's so many restaurants closing every day and opening new ones. I mean, I think a lifespan for a restaurant is what, like 2 years, I think, right? That's the average.
Hmm.
So the turnaround time, the churn on in these new restaurant spaces are very high, but these landlords, they don't care, right? But yeah, I'm looking for spaces. Let's see if we can find something that's decent enough.
Do you want to open multiple locations? Was that always the goal?
That's been my goal, yes.
Yeah.
Like I want to do multiple at least. My goal is by end of this year to open one more, and if things go to plan, I want to open up like at least two more. Like,
That's great.
but
What's
yeah.
so you're a numbers guy. Like what's the profit, labor, food cost percentages on your businesses? Like what
So
percentages do
my
you hit?
food cost is, I would say my food cost is pretty. I would say a little bit on the higher side because we only use halal meat.
Okay.
So that and we majority of our sales are meat pizzas. So that brings me on the higher end of things for the food costs a little bit. But it wasn't nothing like, I think we're still well below like 25%
For food cost?
for food costs.
That's a good food cost.
That's a yeah, it's like not too bad for like because and then the reason is that I only do the way I design my menu is very streamlined. So I have pizzas. I do two sizes. It's
Yep.
just 14-inch and extra 16-inch, large and extra large. Then I have wraps and I have pasta. So I use the same sauce for my pizza, my wrap, and my pasta. I use the same meat for my pizza, wrap, and pasta. Then the cheese is same thing. The pizza and pastas are getting the same. So I expanded the menu in a way where it's like very streamlined. So I was able to balance out and my food waste is almost like non-existent. So
That's
that
great.
helps.
What's your labor percentage?
About like 25 to 30, depending on the week.
That's pretty average.
Yeah.
So Monday,
again,
Tuesday, Wednesday's probably slower, like lower.
Slower,
Friday,
yeah.
Saturday is higher. I mean, vice
Exactly.
versa.
Yeah. So I average between those numbers. But the biggest problem was that I wasn't getting the volume of last year, especially. But again, this year, I think I'm in the right track.
That's great. What do you think the profit percentage is that a pizzeria should look for?
I would say I think 20% would be a good number, right? Where people are, I mean, you would know better, like with my experience, like in the limited time I've been in the space. I think 20% would be a nice number to have. I don't know. What
That's
do you think?
definitely like, I think that's like, if you're hitting 20% profit, I think you're doing a good job. Anything over that, you're doing a great job. Anything under that, you're not doing bad, but like you should be between 15 and 20% profit.
Yeah, like that's what I heard. Like I've been, that's what I aim for, like 15 to 20%. But I think
it also
the other
depends
thing,
on like how you operate the business. Like this, so people ask a question like me, like I just did to you, but it's like, do you work full time in the business? Like, do you pay yourself a salary? Do you have salaried employees? So it's like, it really goes to how you operate the business based on that. Because if I just did a podcast right before this one, and it's a husband and wife duo, and they're the only employees, so their profit margin is going to be 50%, but that's not
exactly, yeah.
a business.
Like, so
really.
for me, I'm not in this business. I don't go to my store anymore. Like, it's completely hands off. So,
oh, that's great.
Like that was one. So one of the first things I did was when we first opened, like we always knew that we're gonna make money down the line. Hopefully, that was the hope. But one thing was to streamline the process. Like my goal was like I got to streamline to the point where I don't have to show up in the store, and only that way you can have a consistent product and make it. And then you can go expand to other locations. That was one of the biggest focuses for me from day one. And I was able to achieve that. Like right now, I have broken down the menu, like all the recipes, because we make everything in house. For like the only thing we buy is our pepperoni and our turkey. So we don't everything's salsa. We don't use any pork, so we use turkey salamis for our meat lover pizza, which I absolutely hate serving, but.
The turkey pepperoni or the meat lover or both?
The meat lover.
Yeah.
I just hate that pizza. Like people love it. I know like there is a huge demand for it. I just absolutely hate making that pizza. But it's like, it's a very expensive pizza, but again, like it just ruins the whole. I mean, again, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic, but
no, you're good.
So
hold on, there is no topic. This is just a hanging out. We're just hanging out.
There's
no topics.
So like we make everything in-house, like all our sauces, everything is made in-house. So way I broke down the recipes, we were able to and this is my business partner, he's very good at doing these things. So way he broke down the recipes and everything, it's very streamlined. So like if you come in tomorrow and the product will come on the next day, no problem.
Interesting.
As long as you have you have decent understanding of how cooking works, you'll be fine.
You have like maps out on everywhere so people can like see it, or do you have videos, or how do you train people?
No, like the recipes we have it broken down. Like everything's measured to the T. So as long as you're just putting on those right amounts, it will come out fine. No problem.
So with the oven you have too, like the consistency is not as much of an issue. Exactly,
yeah. Like that's the oven. I think right now it's like a blessing for me that way it works. Yeah, for sure.
Super interesting. This is great. This is fascinating to talk to you. I'm actually going to make a point to kind of stop in next time. To see.
Yeah, please, man.
I'll
I would
message
love
you.
to.
Meet me over there.
Absolutely. Like, even if my store is closed, I'll come in open early. No problem. Like, we'll work it out.
What days do you close any days?
We are closed on Mondays, and then on the weekdays I'm open from 3 to 11, and weekends is 12 to 12.
Okay, cool. Where can people? I know Saucebros USA is your Instagram website, saucebrospizza.com. That's the best place to say hello to you. I'm sure people are gonna listen to this, say have a question or anything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, DM me. I'll try to respond. Or email us on like saucebrosusa@gmail. I'm better at my emails than my social media for sure. Like I try to respond to it more.
All right, cool.
But I try to get back to people as much as possible.
Yeah, you're pretty responsive with me too, so this is great.
Yeah.
We'll link up all that in the description below this whether you're watching the video or watching the podcast or listening to the podcast rather. We'll link up all your stuff, Instagram and your website.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Redwan, for taking the time out and joining me on the podcast. It was really great talking to you.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Don't go anywhere yet, though.
Okay.
All right, as always, thank you so much to Redwan for joining me on the podcast. We will link up all the Saucebros information, their website, their Instagram in the description below this video or podcast, whichever one you're listening to. Hit like, hit subscribe, and question of the show. Where are you listening to this from? Let me know where you're listening to this from, whether you're in a city and you're a pizza lover or you want to open a pizza shop or you already own one. We have another series on the channel called Pizza Insider where we go into pizzerias and showcase them and show the behind the scenes of operating. So check that out if you haven't. It's probably linked up somewhere here. And drop a comment below. Where are you watching this from? Would love to say hello to you. I always hang out in the comments for the first few hours after the new video or podcast drops. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.